Hey guys, it's Brit. Tonight we're here with a little update on Mom of 8 kids, which now I have learned that her name is Rosalie, so I will be addressing her by her name now that I know it. But we're going to listen to what she has to say in this update that she just posted, and the title of it is Viewers Calling the Police Again, and it has 25,000 views as of right now. And evidently she's going to answer some questions. It has 1.6 thousand likes to 41 dislikes, and we are going to get into it. This is not a very long video, but I think that it will be good to provide an update. So let's get into it.
Mom of 8 kids. For those who don't know, my husband passed away suddenly, unexpected last.
Before we get into it also, I like that she's putting the date on the screen because that provides transparency to the audience that is now following this story that she's sharing with YouTube. So I like to see changes made. If somebody is lacking transparency and they start to be more transparent and forthcoming, then that is worth addressing. So now she is putting it on the screen. I like that, but let's get into it.
July, and it's been hard, and I wanted to make this video to answer some questions that people have been confused about. I also want to let you guys know
there's been a lot of confusion about, did her husband die July 2022 or July 2023? My understanding is that it was July 2023 because when she showed her phone that got everybody talking, it was Saturday, July 22nd, and that would have fallen on in the year 2023 based on the calendar. So 2023 is what my understanding is based on her showing the phone and checking to see what day of the week Saturday, July 22nd was. It was 2023.
That I've also had 2 more people visiting me. One was the Family and Children's Services, again, for the second time. They had already closed their investigation from being called when my husband passed. Suddenly, that was routine, I understand. That's because the children were so young. And the police were called again on, on me. I'm laughing because I'm not in trouble. But apparently, the fax worker showed up at my door, and I had just got...
I have to say, in these more recent videos, she looks much more, how do I say this? She looks like she has a little bit more life in her face and just her complexion and the way that she appears on camera. And no, I'm not saying anything negative about her physical appearance or anything, but you could just really tell that the initial videos, she was obviously really going through it, really struggling, probably not taking very good care of herself because she, you know, has so many children and now she's a widow. So I just wanted to also say that you can really tell a difference in the last few months of just the way that she is speaking and her tone, and also the way that she physically is appearing as well. She looks much better.
In a letter 2 days prior saying that the investigation was closed. So last Thursday, so I'm recording this, today is Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, October 10th. Last Thursday at 4 a.m. in the morning, the police were knocking on my door because somebody in the same province that I live in called the OPP because they had seen my videos. I live in Canada, so we don't have states, we have provinces in Canada, and so the OPP was able to look up where I live because they have everything on record there, and they came to check on me. I mentioned that in a previous video already, and they just wanted to see how I was doing, you know, make sure that I wasn't suicidal or anything like that. So they asked me some questions, and yeah, they said that I wasn't in trouble, and then they left, and I told them that I appreciated them checking on me because they were understanding, and they said anyone would have those kinds of thoughts, you know. The video was 39 hours after my husband had suddenly passed. So
initially when I was listening to her tell stories and she kept saying, oh, well, I'm not in trouble because of this, I have this working in my favor, I have that working in my favor, that was a really big red flag to me, and it still is. But I also think that now that I've watched more of her content that has been filmed recently, This is obviously somebody who has been very sheltered. She does not have, she doesn't have the life experience that maybe I do, or some of you guys watching this video. With life experience comes the just ability to handle different situations in a little bit more of an upfront and matter of fact way. And I just feel like it was probably her shock and her trauma also speaking through in this like very kind of nervous Nelly, frantic state that she was in. So I really am trying to understand all sides of this. And before we go any further, I also want to say that somebody left a comment on the other video that I did on her and, you know, essentially just said, she doesn't need any commentary channels talking about her. This is a new widow. How dare you use her husband's death as content? And I will say what I've said earlier very quickly, and then we will move on. If you put it onto YouTube, it is there for public consumption. I don't put anything onto YouTube that I'm not okay with people dissecting and maybe disagreeing with. If you don't want opinions, keep it in your own household. Nobody would even know who this woman is or what was going on in her house if she hadn't divulged all this info on her own channel. She decided to make it public, and the court of public opinion is going to respond to it. So let's keep going.
Oh, they saw the videos I posted on YouTube. Everything's out in the open now. So now on to the very next day, last Friday, I got a visit from the fax worker. Again, this time another worker, and somebody from Switzerland, believe it or not, had contacted them. He said he didn't know that they even existed. He couldn't remember the exact name, but it was cyber security, something like that. And they contacted Family and Children Services in the US. It's called CPS, Child Protection. And so that's why they came. And so yeah, believe it or not, I guess there's some kind of organization policing the internet. And so he wanted to speak to all the children, which he did. He asked everybody questions.
The text on the screen said they were very concerned about her mental state, and that's why they called. And that's, again, part of putting stuff out on the YouTube. Some people are going to take this content and say, oh, well, she's a new widow, and they're just going to believe and go along with anything that she puts out. And other people are going to say, this is clearly a woman in distress, and she has children in her home, so they're going to make that decision. Now, what I personally call fax or DCFS or CPS or anything like that, not in a million years, unless I saw actual video evidence of child abuse. That is the only way that I would take things off of the internet and actually contact an agency that deals with those kinds of things, calling CPS and doing all that kind of stuff. Like, most of y'all will already know this, but that is not my gig, never has been, hopefully it never will be, because it's such a small micro percentage of things that you come across online that are actually child abuse. Most of this stuff, you might disagree with it, it might be really weird, but do you have that video evidence of it actually being abuse? Usually not.
He wanted to do a check of the whole house, and I showed him the whole house, and a thorough check of the whole house. He even wanted to see like what was behind the closet doors. So I showed him, I said it's just a closet and this is a bathroom. I showed it to him. So, you know, he saw the basement. There's no dungeon or anything. And for those who think that I'm conning people in and I'm making this all up, I'm not making it up at all. Here's the letter I can show you. Here, I'm just going to cover the address. This is the letter that I received.
And that's exactly what they should be doing. They should be doing a thorough search. If they're actually going to come to your residence, then the search should be thorough, so that person was doing their job, which if I was a parent, I would be thankful for. Okay, let's make sure this is thorough so that you guys can see what you need to see, and I can move on with my day or evening.
Like 2 days before the worker came again, Fax Family and Children Services, and this is the date. Let me see here. There's the date. So you can see I'm not lying. And let me see here. I just want to cover up the area. There we go here. Right here. It says, hang on here. I'm trying to get the camera to focus. Hopefully you can read that. I'll read it. This is to advise that Family and Children's Services has concluded the child protection investigation pertaining to your family referred to this agency on July 16th. The reported concerns were verified. However, the risk of ongoing concern has been mitigated and your file with this agency will now close. So see, I will show it again. If you couldn't see it before, and it's focusing now, see, will now close. So they came. She visited every, let me see here, every 2 weeks she wanted to visit, and she came 2 or 3 times. And so, yeah, and you know, when the police came that early morning at 4 in the morning, I told them that Facts had came and checked everything out. I offered to show them the letter. They were...
It says, this is to advise that Facts, and I guess it says her province, which I can see but I will not share, has concluded the child protection investigation pertaining to your family referred to this agency on July 16th, 2023. The report concerns were verified. However, the risk of ongoing, I guess, an ongoing issue or ongoing threat is gone. So they were announcing that they were closing the case.
All right, they didn't need to see the letter. And, you know, I told them they could contact my doctor or something like that. It was 4 a.m. in the morning, but I did tell them about my family doctor. And so the very same day, at 10:30 in the evening, the detective shows up at my door. Again, somebody had called and complained that they weren't investigating properly because I said on the video that I had this evidence and that I didn't tell them about the evidence. And I got to tell you right now, if I was guilty of doing anything, then I would not talk about it on social media. So she talked to me for about half an hour outside and she said, why didn't you ask me about it? And I said, well, I didn't think that you could talk about it. Like, honestly, I don't think detectives are allowed to talk about cases. I don't think you're supposed to or can ask them, you know, what they're thinking. So she told me, well, do I believe he was the husband of your life? Yes, I do. And do I expect there to be anything suspicious with the result of the autopsy? She said, no, I expect that it'll just show opiates in his system and that's it. So she said she was very, very nice, very understanding. She said that she slept with her children too in bed, you know, because she breastfed. And she said some people will think that's terrible. And she said, and yes, your house is not clean to my standard of living, but I'm also neurotic about that kind of thing. So she cautioned me about, you know, trolls being on the internet, and there will be people that troll me. But she says, but I noticed that you had a donation thing going, and I know that you are in a difficult financial situation. And she said, I commend you for doing something about that. So, yeah, she was nice about it. And let me see, what else did she say? I think that was pretty much it, except that now I have to go in tomorrow. Today's Tuesday, tomorrow, Wednesday in the afternoon. I have to go at 3 to the police station, and she has to ask me some questions about the video that I took, the video and the pictures that I took of my husband before he passed away. So she said I'm not in trouble. So if I wanted, I could bring a lawyer, but she says you won't need to because you're not in trouble. And now she does have to ask me some questions about those things because it wasn't brought up before when she came. So I'm not worried about it. And I wanted to answer a few questions because I know that there's been some confusion going on. And yes, sorry, July 16th is the day my husband passed away unexpectedly. I've been trying to leave dates in the description or pin it in a comment above the comment section.
So when I'm recording this video, she obviously has already gone to this meeting. And y'all don't need me to tell you this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Don't ever, ever, ever go to talk to police officers, detectives without legal counsel, without an attorney present. That is an absolutely terrible idea, especially because this woman is obviously not, you know, she hasn't experienced as much life as other people might have. So she is obviously just thinking, oh, well, you know, this is going to be okay. And hopefully it was okay. And hopefully everything is, you know, settling down and working out for her, but that is an absolutely terrible idea. And so many people in the comments were saying the same thing. Do not go meet with them without having legal counsel. Do not go meet with them without having an attorney present. Terrible idea, but the meeting has already happened, so I don't know if we'll hear an update from her soon or what the deal is. But yeah, you can't tell YouTube that you took pictures and videos of your husband lying on the floor and not tell the police officers that. That's also a very bad idea.
People are spreading rumors saying that I'm deleting comments. They're saying I'm lying about when he died. I'm putting everything out in the open. I don't know what more I can do. I'm putting the date at the start of every single video that I do now. So on with the questions. One question that I get asked a lot is, what are you doing with an older guy? Like that old. My husband was 7.
So she says July 16th, but I've also seen her description box say July 17th. So is it the 16th? Is it the 17th? I don't know. I mean, I can tell you guys that if I lost the love of my life, I would absolutely know the exact date and time when he left this earth. But I'm not sure. And these are the kinds of these I'm not sure moments that she presents people. It leaves them with more confusion. And if you're confusing people and they feel like they're being misled, which they already feel like they've been misled by her in numerous different ways, then you're going to just continue to break trust. And that's why you're getting criticism. You're not getting criticism because people are just bored on the internet and they decide to pick on a widow. They are fact checking and asking you questions about things that you have put out yourself. And that's fair game, in my opinion. As far as her saying that she's not deleting comments, that's completely a he said, she said thing. She could be deleting comments and not wanting to admit to it. People could also be claiming that they're leaving comments and they could be deleting it. The deleting comments thing is, kind of whatever. For me, I'm more focused on like, what is actually coming out of her mouth and what changes is she implementing so that subscribers are more informed on what it is that they're consuming from her.
When he passed away. And I think that the best way to answer that is, and to answer a lot of questions, is to tell you guys what happened. So I've been married to him for 20 years. I was 19 when we got engaged. I met him in college. I was in the social workers program, and so was he. And at the time...
So if he's in college and you're in college, was he like a professor that was going after somebody that was that much younger than him? Because the age thing, I realize, like, if you're in an age gap relationship and you're happy, like, that's one thing. But the nature of her relationship, how she wasn't driving, she wasn't able to do really anything for herself. They didn't properly prepare for him passing before she would pass and be left with all of these kids. That's the problem. It's the lack of preparedness that he actually did for her. And now that we know that they were both in college, like, what was the dynamic? Because if he was a teacher or in a teacher role and she was a student, then that is a whole different ballgame of inappropriate, weird behavior.
He was the top student in the class. We had 80 students in our classroom, and he was a top student. He was the president of student council. He was the executive director of pro-life. He was head of, or I guess you could say executive director of...
Okay, so he was a student as well. So he must have just gone to college, been taking classes later in life. At least now we know that they were both students, but yeah, like marrying this girl and not allowing her or not encouraging her to get her driver's license or do anything for herself. And then you're just going to tell her, oh, well, when I die, I want to be in a mausoleum and good luck with everything else. Like,
pro-life at college, and he had won some student awards. He had a lot of energy. And when we got together, he was the one that would go out every single morning at 6 a.m. for an hour-long bike ride. I'm not kidding. I would be the one in bed till like 7 in the morning, and he would be the one getting up bicycling, and he would bicycle really fast. So after a couple years into our marriage, he had a strenuous youth, I guess you could call it. When he was about 30, he spent a lot of time walking because unfortunately he had anorexia nervosa and he suffered from depression. And when we got together, he was about 50 years old. So this was way before we met. And he did a lot of walking. And anyway, it caught up with him in old age. So his back became severely painful. He was diagnosed with disc degenerative disease, which is why he wasn't able to help me much around the house later on in his years. That would have been about 2 or 3 years into the marriage, maybe even 4 years, where he was diagnosed with that, and he was prescribed heavy opioids at the time. Another question that people ask me is, well, how can you afford to do like the groceries I do with the money I get? First of all, I live in Canada. Things are different here. Second, even in Canada on disability, you can work. You can work so many hours, and then after a certain point, they will deduct from your disability, but you can work while on disability here. So it's not like the US. What happened is a long time ago, when the recession came, the Great Recession, 2009, 2010, we lost most of our money in the stock market.
So basically he was pretty athletic guy, had an injury, and then was put on probably a very high dose of opiates to help with his back pain and this issue that he was having, and ended up taking it through the very end of his life. I'm not a doctor, so I can't give commentary on what that might have done to his body, taking those for that long or anything like that. As far as her saying, well, things are different here in Canada, I agree with her. And the thing that I have heard from Canadian residents is that the government will absolutely be taking care of her, and she will be getting an ample amount of money because she has so many children. Her housing is free. Her utilities are at a huge discount. And so I don't know. To me, despite the fact that you're obviously going through a ton of heartache, a lot of grief, all of those things, and I sympathize with her for having to experience those things, but it does sound like the financial side of things, Canada's really there for her, and the fact that she has so many children. So I've heard of stories not like hers, where it's literally a parent with children who is not getting the financial assistance that they, even like a fraction of what they need. And so I'm glad that she's not in that situation.
My husband took that very hard because he was the one investing it. He felt bad that he lost the money, even though I had not blamed him for it ever, because I was the one that encouraged him to get into the stock market. He was smart. I figured that that would be a good way that him and I could stay home with our children and we could collect dividends and be home with our family. But that got all wiped out, and then we had to go on social assistance. So, needless to say, my husband's health declined again. He fell into a depression. He felt bad that he couldn't give us the life that he wanted to. He felt bad that that money was for his family's future. And it's too bad, you know. I don't think he ever recovered from that, to be honest. I don't think he ever recovered from losing the money in the stock market. And I know some people would say, well, it's only money, but that was our future, you know. And so here, let me look here. Let me see what else what other questions there are. Let me see here. Oh yeah, while he was in that depression, I became pregnant with our son Victory, who is now 12 years old. And the reason why his name is Victory is because there's a special meaning to it. My husband would have suicidal thoughts at that point in time. And gradually he was able, over months, to move away from those thoughts of thinking how he'd like to kill
I
himself.
think it's really funny, the people in her comments section, it's a very mixed crowd. Like, she's getting more people that are on her side and people that are, you know, just defending every single thing that she has shared. The part that I find really funny is people that will literally say, "Oh, you need to mind your business." She's putting it out onto YouTube, guys. Like, this is just the most ignorant argument that people want to come forward with.
And so the birth of our son, our fourth son, was a point whereby he was able to be victorious in fighting those kinds of thoughts and desires, and that's why we named him Victory. So that's a quick rundown of our situation in the last 20 years, and I hope that clears up a lot of questions that people have been having. I'll let you know how it goes tomorrow with the detective. And I've been appreciating all of the support and the stories and experiences that you've been sharing. I really appreciate all of the kindness, and I want to tell you that I don't feel alone as much anymore.
So she goes over, you know, her son and, you know, why his name is, like, why he was named the name that he has and all of this kind of stuff. So it's just like, I think that this is somebody who, I don't think she realized that when you put your stuff out onto YouTube, people are going to fact check and see what it is that you're talking about. I also would like to say that she has now gone and turned monetization on these videos. So the first video that I made reacting to these, the monetization was off. Now the monetization is on. So I don't know what kind of change of heart she had or why all of a sudden now the monetization is on, but I guess she has decided to use this to her advantage as far as making some money on YouTube. Maybe her channel wasn't, maybe she just got monetized. I'm not sure. She had other videos that got decent views, so I think she had the watch time hours. She shows these videos of her husband's feet, and it literally makes me want to vomit. It's so disgusting. So that's the update from Rosalie. The last thing I want to say about Rosalie is, do I think that she is a mean, vindictive person who is here to just pull the wool over everyone's eyes? I don't. Does she make me feel a little bit uncomfortable and a little uneasy and like I will not fully trust her? Yes. Can I also have sympathy for her because she is a widow who lost the obvious love of her life? Even if I have some questions about their age gap and why a 50-year-old man was seeking out somebody so much younger than him, two things can be true at the same time. And that is what I have always tried to do. I've always, within reason, I try to stand in the middle and talk about everything that's going on. I don't like to automatically just come out of the gate and, you know, be barking at whoever I'm talking about and they're the worst person ever, unless they are obviously one of the worst people ever. But with something like this, I do understand that there is power in sharing your story, but the problem is that the story that you shared was not fully transparent. You were misleading your audience, and it took you being called out to finally come forth and actually decide to tell people, okay, this is actually what's going on. And in that video from a couple days ago, it says that her husband passed away July 16th. So we're seeing the 16th, we're seeing the 17th. Which day is it? Why is there discrepancy in the dates that are being given? I still feel like there are some unanswered questions, but I have many concerns about her going to meet with, you know, this detective without legal counsel. And I think that it's going to take quite a lot to get people to be like back on her side, because she did start it with so much misleading and not filling in the gaps. And if you're going to come onto YouTube and share this kind of information, then you're going to have to be upfront, transparent, honest, and not break trust so early on. So that's a little update from Miss Rosalie, and I'll just keep an eye on things. We'll kind of see where this goes. I don't know if this is a story that I will cover long term, but as of right now, it seems like you guys are pretty interested in it, and we will just take it from here. So for now, if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment, and if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon.